Hello and welcome to Patriot 6. I want to do a video for first timers. This video is for people that have the urge to build scenery, and your urge may be out of necessity because you see things that you would like to change to improve the immersion of the simulator. However, you may be reluctant to give it a try. The first thing I want to say is you can do it. Not everybody is like me that just jumps in the middle of it and takes it on. Some folks put a lot more thought into it than maybe I have, and they're a little reluctant. The most common reason for the reluctance is thinking it's too hard, I can't do it. That's not true. You can do it. Another reason for the reluctance is some people believe they will mess things up, but you can't mess things up. And the reason that you can't mess them up is when you're adding to or building scenery, everything that you're doing is in a single folder. You're not manipulating the simulator out in the world and creating permanent changes. Everything you add or take away lives in that folder. And by simply pressing the delete button, the folder is gone and everything is back to the way it used to be. So if you're afraid you'll mess things up, shake that fear off because you're not going to mess things up. If you're concerned you can't do it, well, I'm here to tell you you can. And this video is for you. But beware, in this video, I'm not going to assume anything. I'm going to approach this video as if I'm talking to someone that's never even seen Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. Yes, I may over-explain things and say things that you're aware of, but I don't know that and I can't assume that. I have to assume you know nothing. And by taking this approach, I might over-explain some things, but with everything that I over-explain, it's going to be usable for somebody. And now we're about to get started. But before we get started, I'm going to play some short tutorials that will be helpful for you. These are small tasks that you need to master to build scenery. And when I say master, I don't mean instantly master, but it will be something that you will master over time. The task will become as second nature to you as riding a bicycle. It just takes a little practice and a little work. And with that, here is the introduction to the channel, and here are the short tutorials. Greetings and welcome to Patriot 6. I make tutorial videos for scenery building or modifications to scenery in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 utilizing SDK. Different people at different levels of skill see these videos. You may be here because you're curious or you may already know the basics of scenery building. It is impossible for me to know who will click on a video. Because of the broad range of folks that view the videos, I include the basics in each video. This and all new videos will be built in chapters. You can find the chapters of the video in the description below. In addition, you can see the chapters on the video timeline if you want to skip the basic chapters. The processes for building scenery, downloading SDK, and downloading samples is constantly changing. The video that I am redoing at this moment is just a few months old, and I'm already having to make another video. But I will promise you, as long as I'm able to make videos, I will keep my videos up to date. Because it does you no good if I make a video and let it set for several years, walk away, and never update anything. So know that this video is being recorded on November the 28th, 2022. So to build scenery in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, a couple things must occur first. The first step is we have to go into developers mode, and then we must download SDK. And although it's not mandatory that you download the samples, I recommend that you download the samples. If you do not download the samples, then you have to find the samples from other places. So to begin, we're going to go into developers mode. And we'll do that by going to options. And once we're at options, we want to tick on General Options. We want to drop down to Developers. Tick on Apply and Save. And once we're in Developers mode, a new menu will appear at the top. In my videos, I refer to this menu as the Dev menu, or sometimes I may call it the Developers menu. But from the Dev menu, go to Help and drop down to SDK Installer Core and tick. And when you do that, your browser will open up and download SDK. And once you have SDK downloaded, you want to double click like any other executable file and start the installation process. And you continue on with the process. Now, since I already have SDK, I'm going to stop the process. Again, on the Dev menu, you want to go up to Help, and you want to drop down to Samples, and you want to download the very first thing you see, Samples. And again, your browser will start to download the samples. And just like before, you want to go to the download, find the executable file, and start the installation. I'm going to tick Next. And when you tick Next, this application will automatically install the samples inside the SDK folder. So let me quickly walk through finding the samples. You want to open the SDK folder. You will see a folder that says Samples. You want to open this folder. And at this point, you will see 3 folders. To get to the sample you're most likely to need, the Simple Scenery folder, you want to open the Dev Mode Projects folder. And then you want to drop down to Sceneries and open. And down here at the bottom, you will find Simple Scenery. I recommend that you make a copy of the Simple Scenery and drop the Simple Scenery into the working folder that you will be using to build scenery. One last thing I would like to mention is when you are in Developers mode, you will see SDK updates on the top right hand of your screen. As long as this button is blue, you are fine. If this button ever turns yellow, it means that the SDK has an update and you need to go grab the update. And getting SDK updates is the same process that I showed you in the installation. And it is very possible that you will still see this as yellow after you update the SDK. And to solve that, you can tick on this button and open up this SDK window and find the refresh button and tick the refresh button. And then the SDK icon at the top right of your screen will no longer be yellow. Let's talk about the developer camera. The developer camera is something that is vital and something that you will use often. And to get to the developer camera, you go up to the developer menu, tick on Camera, and tick on Developer Camera. Operating the developer camera is a lot like operating the drone camera. So I'll show you the keys that we use to operate the developer camera. If we want to drop, we hit the F key. If we want to rise, we hit the R key. If we want to go left, we use the A key. And if we want to go right, we use the D key. If we want to go forward, we use the W key. And if we want to go in reverse, we use the S key. There's also some numerical keys that you can use. On the number pad, the 4 key will spin you, and the 6 key will spin you in the opposite direction. The 8 key will tilt your camera up, and the 2 key will tilt your camera down. Occasionally when you're building scenery, your azimuth will get off. So that's very easy to correct by using the 7 key or the 9 key. And then you can correct your azimuth. You can also use the mouse and freely move around. By holding down the left Alt key and by using your left mouse button, you're able to move anywhere you want to move. Also, you can use the mouse wheel to zoom in or out. Almost always, this is a process I go through. I'll tick on the developer camera. I will drop to the ground using the F key. Then I will use the left Alt key and the left mouse button to make sure I can spin in small areas. That is the fine control of the camera I'm looking for. What I don't want is this. You see what happened there? As soon as I got in and I used my mouse button to move, look how far I am from my aircraft. So again, to the developer camera, drop down with the F key, and with the left Alt key depressed and the left mouse button, make sure you can make minute movements. And now you're good to go and ready to use the developer camera. Let's talk about the tools that we need to build scenery. In most projects, it's very simple. The items which you use to build scenery are typically in your scenery library already. There are exceptions though. If you are bringing a 3D model into the sim, that would be an exception. If you are using the Earth to MSFS tool, that is another exception. And on occasion, you may need a text editor. I will explain the reason for the text editor once I do a video where the text editor is needed. For starters, put a folder on your desktop that you will use as your working scenery folder. I have one here and I will show you what I have in it. All I have in it is a simple scenery folder I downloaded from SDK, and I do have a thumbnail. In the simple scenery folders that you download through this version of SDK, a thumbnail is not mandatory because there is a standard thumbnail within the scenery package. However, on all of my projects, I choose to have a thumbnail, and it's your choice where you want to go with the standard thumbnail in the scenery folder or if you want your own. If you decide you want to make your own thumbnail, the thumbnail has to be the precise dimensions of this thumbnail I use, 412 by 170 pixels. No other size will work. So if you build your own thumbnail, please keep this rule in mind. Okay, now we will begin. And the goal here is to give you some quick wins. These are most likely the things you're going to want to do first. And it will be simple, and it will be something that you will be able to master. I'm assuming you watch the short tutorials, but I'm going to walk through the steps regardless. I'm going to assume that you have SDK already. I'm going to assume you have a working folder. I'm going to assume that you have a copy of Simple Scenery. With those assumptions out of the way, we want to go to Developers mode. And quickly to do that, I'm going to tick on Home, Options, General Options, Developers, On, Apply and Save. And now in Developers mode, You see the menu at the top as I explained in the tutorials. I'm going to begin at Outlaw Airport. And I chose this airport because everybody that flies in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 has that airport that they like. Perhaps their home airport, perhaps an airport that gives them memories, but yet the airport is extremely lacking in the simulator. And that's why I chose this airport, and not because it's important to me, but because it is one I know that is lacking. So I'll just grab any ramp, and I will set departure. Typically, I will have the live weather off, and I will have the time somewhere around midday so that I have good light. And then I'm going to press fly. And now zoned into the airport, I'm going up to the dev menu, options, and I'm going to pause the simulation. And now I can press ready to fly. The next step is I'm going back up to the dev menu. I'm going to select camera and developer camera. And if you watched the tutorial, hopefully you did, you know how to manipulate the developer camera. So here is Outlaw Airfield in Clarksville, Tennessee. And you will notice that all of the hangars are simply images on the ground. Yeah, you have that airport out there too. So let's start the project and see if we can make Outlaw come to life a little more. And now here is the working scenery folder. And it has various objects in here, but I'm going to take the simple scenery folder and I'm going to copy it. And then I'm going to paste it in. And now I'm going to rename the folder so that the folder is recognizable to me. We don't want everything we work on to be simple scenery. I typically use a 3-part naming convention separated by hyphens. You can use whatever works for you. This is just how I do it. The first thing I add is the company name I use, which is Patriot 6, and then I'm going to place a hyphen. In the middle section, I usually use a name which is relevant for the area I'm working on, so we'll call this Outlaw Airport. One more hyphen, and then I'm going to type in scenery. And now I have the scenery folder renamed with Patriot 6 in the beginning. Anytime I refer back to this, I know this is one of my packages. Outlaw Airport tells me the location, and with scenery added to the name, I know what type of project this is. This is a scenery project. For example, if I want to add night lighting to a location, I would probably end the package with hyphen lights instead of hyphen scenery. Or if I'm doing more advanced work like using the Earth to MSFS tool, I will typically end the package name with the hyphen Earth. Anytime I look into my add-ons folder or my community folder, I know who built it, I know where it is, and I know what type of scenery package it is. And that is how I come up with the naming convention I use. Again, use what works for you. And now with the simple scenery folder converted over to a folder which we will use, we will start this process. So again, on the Dev menu, I'm going to Tools, and I'm going to Project Editor. And the Project Editor is up, so I want to drop down to the Project Editor menu, tick on Project, tick on Open Project, and then I want to navigate to the Working Scenery folder. And then I want to navigate to the scenery folder, which is right here, Patriot 6 Outlaw Airport Scenery. I will open the scenery folder. And at this point in the process, you will see 2 folders and an XML document. You'll see package definitions, package sources, and a scenery project XML. Tick on the scenery project XML and open. And once open on the project editor, you will see a line here that says My Company Scenery Simple. So let's tick on this. And then it opens up Marketplace Data, My Scene, and My Model Lib. Go to the project editor menu, tick on View, and tick on Inspector. And then the inspector comes up. The inspector is a tool that we use to give the package a name and also information for the content editor.
Content Manager.
At the very top of the inspector, you will notice My Company Scenery Simple. That is the name that it will give the package, but we want to change the name it will give the package. And instead of My Company, I'm going to type in Patriot 6. As I did with the scenery folder, I want this to be a single word, so Patriot 6 is one word. And when I tick off of this, you'll see My Company changed to Patriot 6. And there it is. And now here is where we're going to name the project. And I want to use the same name for this that I used in our scenery folder. That will be Outlaw Airport -Scenery. And now when I tick off, you see Patriot 6 Outlaw Airport -Scenery. And you will also see it down here in the project editor. This will be the name of the package. The package will have the same name as the scenery folder. And that's what I want. The information in the second section here is simply for the content manager. And once you place this in the community folder or your scenery folder, whichever you use, and you look in the content manager, you will see the information in the content manager that I enter here. It doesn't have to be exactly as the package name and the folder name. It's whatever we want to appear in the content manager. So I type in Outlaw Airport, Clarksville, Tennessee. And on the next line, I'm going to put the creator name, which is me. Now we're done with this phase. The next thing is the thumbnail. The simple scenery folders come with a default thumbnail, and you're welcome to use that. Or if you want to build your own thumbnail, you can do so following the tutorial at the beginning of this video. I have a personal thumbnail I always use. I'm going to tick on this and navigate to my thumbnail. And once you tick on it, you just have to navigate to the thumbnail, which is in the working scenery folder right here. Tick on it and open. In the next step, we must build the package. If we do not build the package, then things are not going to work from the very beginning. So let's build the package. On the inspector, down here on the bottom, you see Build Package. I want to tick on it. And once I tick on this, a dialog box is going to come up. And the dialog box is letting me know that modifications have been detected. Do I want to continue? And I'm going to tick yes. And there's our dialog box, and I'm going to tick yes, and it will start to build the package. And it should be a quick package build. So the initial package build is complete, and if I go up to the top left of the console, you will see a lot of potential errors, but you also notice that I have 0 errors, and that's good. So now I'm going to tick the X and get out of the console, or you can go to Window and tick the console off. After the initial package is built, the next step is to drop down to the project editor. You will see the name we gave the project in blue, and you want to tick on this. You want to drop down to My Scene BGL and tick on it. And then up on the inspector, you want to load in editor. And once you tick on it, the scenery editor will pop up. So while the scenery editor is loading in, let's drop down to view on the scenery editor. Let's tick on objects. And let's tick on gizmo. And it takes several seconds or a minute, but eventually all of your scenery objects will load in. So let me quickly explain objects. The objects that load in are all of the objects that are available to you, which includes any objects in Payware, any objects in your official folder, and any standard generic Asobo objects. So right out of the gate, you have a lot of objects at your disposal that you can reuse. Now I'm going to tick on all, and this will give me access to every object type in all of my scenery libraries. And you see the flat hangars here that are just part of the satellite imagery. But for whatever reason, the Asobo AI is not picking these items up and generating a hangar. Now you have at your disposal many hangars. And to be honest, there's no easy button for this. You have to look around and test until you find a hangar that you think will fit your needs at the location you're wanting to place it. And on the objects window, you can type in hangar, and this will sort all of the items that you're looking at based on your search. So when I type in hangar, all kinds of hangars start to show up here. As you can see, some of them are part of my payware: Chicago O'Hare, Dallas, etc. To make it a little easier, you can type in gen as in general. Put an underscore here, and then type in the word hangar. And now we're only looking at general hangars. And again, you have to just select a hangar. I'll select hangar 01, and on the objects window, I'll tick add. And that hangar will pop in. And then I have to decide, does this hangar fit my needs or not? To keep it simple, I'm not going to go through every hangar type available to me. I'm going to pick a few quickly and use those. You can take the time and go through everything and find a hangar that is perfect for you. And with the hangar selected, you'll notice that we have red, blue, and green, along with some boxes. Typically, the green box allows you to drag this around. And here is where the gizmo becomes very important. The gizmo is the device that allows you to manipulate the objects that you have placed in. You have translate, and translate does this. It allows you to move the object around. Rotate does exactly what you would think. It allows you to rotate. Sometimes your angle can make this a little difficult. So you want to make sure your camera angle is one in which you can see the green, and that allows you to rotate the hangar around. And lastly, on the gizmo, you have scale. And when you tick on scale, it allows you to scale the object down or up, depending on which way you want to go. And now I'm going back to translate and move. And now I have a hangar in place. If I want to, I can go up to Objects window. I can find various flavors of hangars, but to keep this simple, I'm going to stick with this hangar for all of this, but you can experiment around and do whatever you want. I could tick add and add another hangar, but it will be in the orientation and size as we originally saw. Since this one is already orientated and sized for me, I'm going to drop down to the scenery editor, and there you will see a duplicate button, and I'm going to tick on it. And now it has duplicated this object. So all I have to do is grab this and move the duplication. And I'm going to duplicate it a few more times. And with a transmute, I'm going to move it into place. And as you see here, we have a collision of two. Very simple to fix. I will tick on the object. On the gizmo, I will go to scale. And I'm going to reduce the scale of these two so that they fit. And that seems to be better. So now on the gizmo, I'm going back to translate. Now we have 3 hangars instead of 3 pictures. I'm going to find a long hanger and replace this one. And this will be the last thing I do here. Because again, I'm just trying to show you quickly how to do this. But I have to find a hanger that fits my needs. And hangar 09 is close enough. So with the gizmo, I will move hanger 09 over here. And now on the gizmo, I'm going to rotate the hanger, transmute and move it a little more, and now to scale it down a bit. On the gizmo, I will tick scale again. And as you see, it's not a perfect fit, but there's a little trick. I can actually duplicate this item, run the two together, square up the doors as best I can, and we'll end up with this hanger being longer because the two will fit together perfectly if I hit duplicate. And that's pretty close. But as far as you can tell, it's a single hanger. And now I'm going to save the scenery. One other thing that you can quickly do is add some lights. And I'm going to keep this simple, but up on the objects menu, I'm going to type lamp and find some general street light lamps. And I will grab a quadruple type 5 and tick add and move it where I want to. And I have choices here. Since I didn't scale this or orientate this, I can continue to tick add and bring in more. Or I could duplicate down on the scenery editor. Your choice. So let's add a couple lights over here. And again, let's save the scenery. And now I'm going to change locations and show you a process that's very common that beginners want to do. Now I've moved to downtown Nashville. And if we take a look at this bridge, we see trees growing on the bridge. And nobody wants that. And as you know, it doesn't belong here, but it's the AI doing its best to interpret what it's seeing and replacing the items. But we're going to use an exclusion polygon to get rid of the trees. And I will briefly describe what I'm doing as I do it. But I highly recommend you go to the description below, and I will pin a very comprehensive video about using polygons. And if you build scenery, you're going to use polygons a lot. So I do recommend that you go through that video, familiarize yourself with the use of polygons and all the things you can do with polygons, and it will be time well spent, because as you build scenery, you will fall back upon polygons quite often. But for the purposes of this video, I'm going to keep it simple. I will tell you the steps I'm taking, but I'm not going to go into the detail of all the things you can do with polygons. So on the Objects window, we want to change from scenery to polygon. On the Objects window, you will start your polygon off by ticking Add. And once I tick Add, I'm going to keep the left Control key pressed the entire time, and I will use the left mouse button to set the polygon nodes. So Add, left Control key down, left mouse key to build the polygon. The left Control key is down, and here I go. And when you get to the last node, you want to double click to complete the polygon. And now the polygon is complete. And with a completed polygon, I'm going to drop down to the scenery editor. I'm going to tick on view, and I'm going to bring up properties. And with the properties window open, I'm going to tick on vegetation. And the top two sliders, I'm going to move to the left. And now I can remove the properties window. But if we look at the bridge now, it no longer has trees on it. And that's how quickly you can remove unwanted trees. And now I'm going to save the scenery. It doesn't matter that part of this package is in Clarksville and part of this package is in Nashville. The GPS coordinates of all the work that we've done are stored in the scenery folder. And even if I want to move to another country and work on this particular package, I could. I don't recommend it, but I'm just telling you that you can. And now we're in the suburb where I live, Smyrna, Tennessee. And this is a hospital. And you do get a single AI generated building here. But if you look at the hospital, it's just a flat image on the earth. And obviously I do not have this hospital in the scenery library, so I'm going to have to be creative. So I would say to you, use your imagination. There are so many things you can do just by using your imagination. So back on the objects window, I'm still on polygon, so I want to go from polygon to scenery. And now once again the scenery library is up. Always make sure you tick all so that you have access to everything in the scenery library. And now I'm going to look for buildings that can somewhat mimic a hospital. And I happen to know that generic common balconies, they're an apartment building type, but they can be used for all purpose. So I'm going to see if I can find one I can use. And now let's get a little creative. I'm going to use the gizmo to rotate and translate and the gizmo to change the scale. I'm going to duplicate. Let's find another balcony. I like that one. And let's rotate it around. And you may notice I'm running these items into each other, but it doesn't matter. Use your imagination. Duplicate. Duplicate. And now let's go back and grab one of these and duplicate. Duplicate again. And now let's replace this doctor's building, which looks quite different in real life. Again, I'm going to use a polygon, but a different type of polygon. So on the objects menu, I'm going to type polygon. And as I did before, I'm going to add, keep the left control key down, and with the left mouse button, I'm going to draw a polygon around this building. Double click to complete. Down on the scenery editor, view, and properties. On the properties window, I'm going to buildings and exclude all. And now this building is gone, and all we have is a 2D photograph from the satellite imagery. And up on the objects window, I'm going back to scenery. Tick all. And I typed in GEN for general and underscore BUI, and it will give me several generic buildings, and I'll take a look at these. Bring the scale up. Let's duplicate and meld it into this building. See if I can find another building. And with the gizmo, rotate and scale. I'm just using the gizmo to get things into place. There we go, completely out of imagination. I'm going to save the scenery. Now, is this accurate to real life? No, it's not. But was I able to use my imagination and use objects available to me to come up with something better than what the AI generated? I think so. And flying over from a distance, had you rather see this or see the flat picture on the Earth? I think you'd rather see this. So there's 3 different things that I've shown you that you can do that you can learn to do very quickly, and you can be successful at it. And the more you learn, the more you can do. And you can start to add in a lot more details. And your only limitations is your imagination and the objects in your scenery library. But as I've shown you here, you can just take items at your disposal in the scenery library, put them together almost like Legos, and come up with something that looks better. There are apartment buildings here, and they look more like this than this. So that's the general idea I'm trying to give you. As long as you have an imagination, you can piece things together and make them work. And in addition to that, it's easy and you can do it. One more time, I'm going to save the scenery. And if I go up to the menu and turn off the developer camera, that will put me back in my original location. And I'm back in Clarksville. Now I'm going to save the scenery. So let's complete this project and move it into the community folder and actually see it in the simulator. So first, I'm going down to the scenery editor and save the scenery. And once the scenery is saved, I'm going back to the project editor, and I'm on My Scene BGL because I've been adding scenery. And I'm going to tick on the blue project at the top. And you'll notice the information is in the inspector, and I'm going to build the package. The package is built, and if I look up here on the errors, I do not have any additional errors. So I can exit out of the console. And so that you understand, we built the package in the beginning. And that was to get us started. We had to have a package to start with. And as I completed the work and saved the scenery, I built the final package. If you do not build the final package, the work that you have done will not be in the scenery. So you always have to finish with building a package. And with the scenery saved and the package built, I can turn the tools off. And I want to bring up the working scenery folder. And I will also bring up the community folder. Just a quick tip, if you plan on building scenery, I would go into my community folder and create a shortcut. And I would put that shortcut on my desktop. And that gives you really quick access to your community folder. Just a little tip. Now, in the working scenery folder, here is the scenery folder I've been working on, Outlaw Airport. I'm going to open this folder. And you'll notice we have a lot more folders than we did in the beginning. But mainly, you will notice we have a folder named Packages. Open the folder. And here is the package, Patriot 6 Outlaw Airport Scenery. Let's copy this. And now make sure we're ticked on the community folder and paste it in. And you see the package now in the community folder. And I can exit out of the folders. And every time you load up Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, one of the first steps that occurs in the initial load is to bring up all of your objects in your official and community folder. And for that to happen now, and for us to bring up this new package that I built, I'm going to have to restart the simulator. And I will restart the simulator right now. And now with Microsoft Flight Simulator restarted, and now the package loaded in as part of our scenery, I need to go to Outlaw Airport. I will stay in developers mode so I can use the developer's camera to look around. And now I'm at Outlaw Airport in Clarksville. I'm going to tick on a parking spot, set as departure, change the time of day to midday, and now I will fly. And we're now loaded in. I'm going to tick ready to fly, go up to the dev menu and get into the developer camera and look around. There are the hangars that we built. And let's take a quick look at night. And we see the lamps that I put in are working. And now let's move to the bridge in downtown Nashville and see if the trees are removed. And now at the bridge, you see we were successful in moving the trees, and that certainly looks better. And now let's zip over to Smyrna and look at the hospital. Here is the hospital we rebuilt. So this is absolutely a success. If I made it look easy, it's not because I'm good, it's because it's that easy. And the things that I did in this tutorial will become absolutely second nature to you. In a matter of days, you'll be moving around and fixing things, enhancing your scenery, and using your imagination to build your own scenery. It is that easy, and you can do it. And with that, I think we are done. I will quickly tell you that on my channel are a variety of videos, from the very simple like this to more complex processes. And the goal in this video is to get you started. And after you get started, you can look around at the content and start to improve on your skills and start to jump in a little deeper in the things that you do. I've made videos on using the Earth to MSFS tool. I also have a video series I'm working on now where I completely built a fictional airport. So on my channel, you should be able to find anything you need to improve your Microsoft Flight Simulator world. And if you find this video helpful, I would appreciate a subscribe. I've been working for over a year now to get the algorithm to recommend my channel. Because one of the things that I do is I continue to add videos and I continue to update my videos. I'm not one of these people that makes a video, lets it set for years, and vanishes. As the methods change for building scenery, as the SDK changes, I try to keep the videos up to date and something that people can use. And I hope you found this useful, and I hope more than anything it gives you the courage to give it a shot. You can't lose anything from trying. But if you don't try, you're going to have to continue to live with the things that brought you to this video in the first place. Make sure you check out the description below for the chapters of this video should you need to return. I hope to see you again soon in this Patriot 6, signing out for now. Never stop creating, it's good for the brain.